This is 5 on your side at 4. Focused on you.
Right now at 4, we are in a weather impact alert. A heat advisory remains in effect, meaning brutal heat and humidity still hang over the bi-state. Thanks for being here. I'm Kay Quinn. Brent Solomon is off today. But right now, we have some storms that are covering part of the area. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell, who's going to tell us where they are. Scott?
Well, we are tracking thunderstorms right now. One of them just prompting a severe thunderstorm warning that does include parts of St. Charles County, Jersey County, and Calhoun County, basically north of St. Louis. But these storms are bubbling up, not in downtown St. Charles proper. Here's where that warning is, and they're kind of encompassing a couple of these storms. They're also including the city of St. Louis with this as well, because the storm's kind of building and creating some gusty winds. So we get a little bit closer. It's the storm here, one of them, that's building over North St. Louis at this point. That's up along Riverview and Hall. And we are looking at some of the more intense storm weather there, with gusty winds potentially with those storms. We go off a little farther to the north. This is the storm that prompted the warning initially, I think, and that's the one that's here in St. Charles County. This is in the Orchard Farm School District area. It does include the Grafton area too. As the storm collapses, it would likely produce some wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour. There's another cell that's developing right now down over and close to Tower Grove Park. That's not as heavy. That's the only severe thunderstorm warning. They're very isolated, these storms are, but they are providing us some relief from the heat and humidity. If you're under one of those thunderstorms, your temperatures have dropped back into the 80s, even some lower 90s just outside of them. And that's also backing off the heat index value some this afternoon. So heat becoming less of a concern. Right now, though, from North St. Louis City up into North St. Louis County, the eastern portions of St. Charles County, as well as up into portions of Calhoun County. That's where we're looking at these storms, into Jersey County too, including Grafton, that could produce some gusty winds, 50 to 60 miles per hour, as these thunderstorm, basically the heavy rain just kind of collapses and puts out some wind. So stay inside, away from windows and doors, and you'll be just fine, okay?
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you, Scott. You can get the forecast 24/7 on KSDK.com or text the word weather to 314-425-5355 and we'll send you the link. We are following breaking news right now out of North St. Louis. Multiple emergency crews outside the Procter & Gamble plant investigating an explosion. That's where Megan Kernan joins us live. Megan?
Well, Kay, we just learned from police crews on the scene here outside of the Procter & Gamble campus on East Grand that something in the sewer line caused an explosion earlier this afternoon, which then caused several manhole covers to be blown on and off P&G's property. Now, we also just heard from St. Louis Fire Chief Dennis Jankerson, who says about 5 to 6 explosions happened behind P&G's property. Now, he says thankfully there were no injuries. Now, officials have evacuated everyone inside the building and the plant is completely closed down right now. So we want to show you a look of what this scene looked like earlier, just a few hours ago. Multiple crews from St. Louis Police and Fire to Spire and Ameren officials responded to the explosion just after 12:30. When we arrived here, we saw dozens of P&G employees in safety vests all down the street filing out of the parking lot. Now, we talked to one employee who says there was an odor in the building, and then all of a sudden they heard an explosion. The employees said they were all told to get their stuff and evacuate out of the building. They said the second shift of employees were told not to come in. Multiple Spire crews were on the scene with gas line equipment. Spire confirms that they have tested every gas site around the property, and it is not natural gas related. Ameren officials say their crews were dispatched here as well, but say there are no reported outages or damage to their equipment right now. Now, the P&G employee told us that they make dishwasher pods inside. Police are still urging people to stay away from this area if you can as they continue to investigate, and we'll bring you the latest coverage later tonight. Live in North St. Louis, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
All right, thank you, Megan. 5 on your side. We'll stay on top of this breaking story. Look for updates on air, online at KSDK.com, and on the 5 Plus app. Right now, Trader Joe's in Chesterfield closed after an early morning water main break. The break happened in the Chesterfield Crossing Strip Mall off Clarkson Road. The Trader Joe's store manager tells 5 on your side It didn't cause any significant or permanent damage, but the store will need a full safety check before it reopens because of just how much water was in the front entrance. No other businesses were affected by that water main break. Tonight, North County communities will get answers about the cleanup progress at Westlake Landfill. Radioactive waste from World War II was stored and later contaminated various sites, including the landfill and Coldwater Creek. Tonight, the EPA will unveil the final steps in its cleanup design plan. That meeting starts at 5:30. It's at the Bridgeton Machinists Hall off St. Charles Rock Road. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris will sit down for her first interview as a presidential nominee, and she and her running mate, Governor Walz, campaign in Georgia. While on the Republican side, former President Trump and Senator Vance visit other battleground states. NBC's Bree Jackson reports on the race for the White House.
Both presidential campaigns crisscrossing the country.
This is my mom, Jeannie Latour.
You listen to both sides, you weigh their records, you weigh their plans, and then you vote.
Vice President Kamala Harris and running mate Tim Walz on the ground in Georgia, sending a message that the battleground state is in play by holding events in areas outside of Democrat-heavy Atlanta. The duo is moving from the trail to the hot seat for their first sit-down interview.
I think she should have done this without anybody sitting next to her.
Most polls show Vice President Harris slightly leading Trump in key states. Still, many Americans are getting to know where Harris and Walz stand on key issues.
As an educator myself, I would definitely love to hear what are some policies as it relates to education.
I think most important is abortion rights for females. Yeah, I think that's one of the major issues right now conflicting most of our country.
Others are skeptical about Harris's policy stance toward the war in Gaza.
Saying these vague promises of either which way, but then not contributing to anything meaningful right now as a vice president kind of makes me a little worried.
Tonight, Harris and Walz will attempt to ease voters' concerns during their televised interview, while Trump and Vance make their case on the campaign trail. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Former U.S. Senator John Danforth is backing an independent candidate in the race for Missouri Senate. The Republican is endorsing Jared Young over incumbent Republican Josh Hawley and Democrat Lucas Kunce. Young is a candidate in the Better Party. It's a new statewide political party. Danforth says Young embraces the ideas that have always defined the Republican Party. Danforth previously backed Hawley in his 2018 Senate bid, but after the events of January 6th, he called supporting Hawley the worst mistake of his life. A major announcement from NASCAR. The playoff event Worldwide Technology Raceway is set to host in 2025. Are you ready for some college football? Mizzou and the Illini take the field tonight. We've got a preview and a treasure from our KSDK vault. We go back 50 years this month to the first full air check that exists in our archives.
And that weather impact alert, not for heat, but for severe thunderstorms. This one's now collapsing here over northern St. Charles County, moving into southern portions of Calhoun County, southern portions of Jersey County. There's another cell that's over far northern portions of St. Louis City. 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, maybe some small hail with these storms. Stay inside away from windows and doors as they move through.